Get in on the action this season with Underdog's Pick'em game. Select higher or lower between 2 and 8 players and compete for up to 325 times your entry. Use code DIRECTOR when signing up to receive up to $1,000 in bonus cash and a free pick. Go to Bolt fam, it's the Director. Chargers fans, hey, it's been a minute, hasn't it, baby? I've been out of town. Me and the wife went to check out the Ravens-Chargers game in person. Yeah, I understand. The ending of that game was not what we hoped it would be, but the experience was absolutely unbelievable. Thank you to all our Bolt fam out there that showed us an awesome time. To Ricardo for the amazing terrace suite seats. Absolutely incredible. I'm going to share with you guys a little bit about my experience at this game, a little bit of my thoughts on the Ravens matchup and what that game meant for the season, but more so what this game, or I should say the Falcons game, buckle up, Bolt fam, that's how I say it, what the upcoming Atlanta Falcons matchup is going to look like this upcoming Sunday. Should be a really good one, man, packed with some good memories, good times, and some good photos along the way. Before we do kick things off, man, shout out to the sponsor, Underdog. Use code DIRECTOR to a match, or I should say receive up to $1,000 in bonus cash. Newcomers, check out the free pick available to y'all out there. It's a great way to support my platform and have some fun along the way. Before we do kick off, hit us up with a like and sub if you do enjoy this Chargers content. The small amount of time you guys take to hit the like, sub, and bell notification helps me out a lot. Let's get into it, baby. Lights, camera, action.
Who's got it better than us?
Your Chargers at Falcons game preview, as well as a little bit of my experience in Baltimore, or I should say versus Baltimore in LA this last week. First off, man, once again, shout out to all you guys, man. This was an absolutely incredible trip. We met some awesome people. I'd never met Marianne before. Awesome experience seeing a whole bunch of people. And then Ricardo, of course, if you guys don't know him, Ricardo, the one that invited me to come up and hang out with them in their suite. That's the first time I've had an opportunity to do something like that. It was absolutely unbelievable and definitely an experience I am not going to forget anytime soon. We sat next to friggin', I remember we were walking into the suite and this guy kind of pops his head out on the suite next to us for just a couple of seconds, and it was friggin' Rich Eisen. And I was like, Rich? And he was like, hey, what's up? And I was like, oh, hey. And then we get in the suite and I look over because there's kind of like glass separating everybody. We were next to the broadcast booth, or just say the radio booth, and next to us was, of course, Kurt Warner as well. Pretty insane experience, definitely one that I will never forget, but one that also comes with, you know, the stigma. Oh man, you Bolt fam out there too, guys. Thank you, everybody. If you see your face in this little scroll, let us know in the comment section if you guys made the video today, man. Thank you so much to everybody for all the excitement, hospitality, and everything like that. It was absolutely unbelievable. Couple of thoughts, though, because we do have to, back to business, Director, talk a little bit about what this game meant for the season. Can we ever, defeat the stigma of the Navy uniform? Such a shame. The Navy unis, one of the sickest, cleanest you're going to find in the entirety of the NFL. We just can't win in these. I actually said something on Twitter when I came back. I'm going to stand by, man. I said this. I said the only way to break the Navy uniform curse is to add the helmet. What do you guys think? I think I'm about that. I think we go ahead and complete, the Infinity Gauntlet, right? We come up with the last scroll. We get the last, gem in there, and then we'll find ourselves broken of the curse that has haunted this fan base, because we all want to see these uniforms. We just have to find a way to win in them. This game in particular. Couple of quick thoughts before we get into the Falcons game, because we're already 5 minutes into this video. One, if this was just from my perspective, of course, we were, looking at and having a really, good time. The suite was exciting, but in watching the game, it felt like the Chargers did get off to a really, really good start. It felt like, okay, here we go. Here comes the classic that we'd been promising everybody, the excitement of Justin Herbert versus Lamar Jackson, the awesome defense and everything that was coming with it. It felt like it really did kick off that way, and it really came down to one pivotal moment to me, because it's kind of interesting to think that I wasn't so sure how big of an involvement the run offense would be for the Chargers, how big of a pivotal thing it would be for the offense to operate. But to me, at least, it felt like when J.K. Dobbins went down, he got tackled awkwardly. He was twisted. I think it ended up resulting in a sprained knee, right? As soon as he exited, it really felt like the offense just kind of wasn't the same after that. Sure, there was some valiant effort by Gus Edwards. Kamani Vidal, I don't believe, was active that game. They found a way to fight back to a score of 23 for the Chargers, but it just wasn't going to be enough versus this Lamar Jackson, and I will say Derrick Henry led offense of the Ravens, man. Watching that in person, for one, as a football fan, it's exciting to see, players that I've been wanting to see in person in a while. It sucks that they're playing against us, but it's also like you can't just sit there and say, okay, the guy isn't a beast. The dude is a beast. Derrick Henry, seeing that dude just run over everybody. I mean, come on. It was insane. And that was just something that we weren't going to, after a point in the game, I was like, it's just going to happen. Like, they're going to hand it off. It's going to be 5, 10 yards, and they're going to continue, keeping control on offense, and it just really didn't feel like that trend ever broke. It's again, one of those anomalies in football. Like, you're just going to see guys that are that good, and the pairing of Lamar and King Henry, it was going to be something really difficult for the Chargers to overcome. Also, we're not going to, relieve the Chargers of any blame here. The Chargers, Justin Herbert did amazing. The defense was okay, despite a lot of, setbacks, but we really got to be pointing the attention over to some of the offensive lack thereof weapons of the Chargers in this game. I think specifically, everyone knows what I'm going to say. Quinton Johnston kind of back on the hot seat for this one. I couldn't believe how many times we saw a game-swinging pass dropped by Quinton Johnston in this game. Again, I didn't keep track of it. It felt like 3 or 4 of them, maybe even more. I remember Kyle from Bolt Bros called me after the game, and he was like, what'd you think about that? And I was like, man, 4 or 5, drop passes by Quinton Johnston really felt like it buried the Chargers' chances ever coming back in that one. And it really does, point a very bright light on one of the biggest problems on this roster, is that we need a wide receiver one. Yes, Ladd McConkey was doing great, and he's going to continue to be one of the biggest weapons for this offense, but you need something to balance it out a little bit, right? We were hoping it'd be QJ. QJ can still develop into being a really nice complementary piece to the offense, but we need a wide receiver one, and we're all going to be looking at the draft. We're all going to be looking at, T. Higgins and other options in free agency and in trade, but that is what it is. The last thing I'll say about this game, the defense, again, gouged by Derrick Henry, but the biggest thing that we got to get on track, especially for this game, third downs, man. I can't tell you how many times I was sitting here like, all right, we got to stop. They're backed up, 3rd and long, yada, yada, yada. Oh, there's my backdrop. We're not going there. We're going here. You guys want to know what's on my computer in terms of the backdrop? That's the blank screen in case I ever need a third screen right there. That's what my wallpaper looks like. The third down situation needs to be fixed. That's something the Chargers had been pretty good at. I mean, not the best, but, obviously the defense has been great, but this game was bad. And the Falcons are going to be another team that can make you pay for that. If you're not efficient at getting off the field on those opportunities, then they're going to find a way to move the ball and score on you. So let's get into that next matchup, starting with the injury report. Fortunately, we are filming this as we have gotten the final list out, and it's kind of a big one for the Chargers, man. We're missing some pretty big pieces here. J.K. Dobbins is going to be out this game. Of course, we expected that. I think he's going to be missing at least 2 or 3 weeks with that sprained knee. Lohi Gilman, hamstring. Ugh, that is definitely not good. Of course, we saw him injured in the last game. He's going to be out as well. The Chargers did respond by signing Marcus May. Of course, you're probably going to see a little bit of Tony Jefferson and stuff out there. But that is certainly going to be another big one, man. Lohi Gilman, everyone's always, not paying enough respect, in my opinion, to Gilman and what he offers out there. Of course, he's not having as good of a season as last year, but he's still very good. That's going to be one that is felt. And then Cam Hart, defense, man, hit after hit. Cam Hart with an ankle. This one's also pretty huge. Cam Hart, for, being a rookie and all the things that we were expecting out of him this year, lack thereof, he has been a huge piece of this defense. We're hoping to see that ankle injury, taken care of sooner rather than later, because we are going to need him. Questionable is going to be Dan Henley, also another pretty big one for the Chargers, and then also out Denzel Perryman. So the Chargers, we're missing a good chunk of players that are going to make an impact on this game. We're going to have to find a way to overcome it in some way, shape, or form. Again, J.K. Dobbins, expect to see a lot of Gus Edwards, Gilman, maybe Tony Jefferson, Marcus May, Cam Hart. Who knows at this point? They just put Eli Apple on IR as well. I don't know. It's something I should have looked up right before the show. It's going to be tough. We're going to have to be digging real deep at the bottom of the well, looking for help out here. Now, the Falcons. Now, I will say, when I saw this, I was pretty taken aback. What a list! This feels like a Chargers list from earlier in the season, you guys remember? But for the most part, it feels like it's pretty much like 90% precautionary. We're not going to really know who's in or out until game day, obviously. But, yeah, a lot of this not injury-related. I think they were coming off a bye week or something like that, right? So these guys not practicing, take it for what you will. But some of the guys that we do know are going to be out. Jesse McClellan, for whatever that's worth. Younghoe Koo, the former Chargers kicker, he's also questionable. I still think they're going to be all right in terms of kicking. Mike Hughes, the cornerback, could be out. Outside of that, again, unless something crazy happens, it kind of feels like this is what's going to go on right there. So, a huge list of names, but I think you can expect for the most part the Falcons to be at like 90%, or maybe even more on Sunday. So let's jump into our first topic. 11 minutes into the video on what to look out for in this game in particular. By the way, guys, just to procrastinate a little more, check out the neutrals at the Chargers team shop next time you're out there, man. Dude, I saw this and I was like, happy Thanksgiving to the director fam. It's pretty sick. The first thing I want to put to everyone's minds into the foreground of what to pay attention for in this game is going to be the narrative that before the season kicked off and we finally got our hands on the opponents and what the schedule would be eventually. One of the biggest things that hit my mind at the top of the season was, sure wish we were playing the Falcons at home, because that probably would have been one of the games I very much so consider going to, just because I like a good shootout. I like an offensive game. Maybe my mind has been changed a little bit now that the Chargers have a really nice traditional, ground and pound and a really good defense, But back in the offseason, I was looking at potential matchups, and this one really caught my eye, especially because the news of Kirk Cousins to Atlanta and the idea of Kyle Pitts being unlocked finally for your fantasy teams. And Drake London, and they got this great guy in Bijan Robinson everybody reached for in the draft last year. Like, yeah, man, I was like, cool, let's hit it, man, because there's one thing we also knew about the Falcons is that their defense sucked. And that all comes into a formula that creates a beautiful thing called a shootout. And I wanted to go see a shootout. And you know what? I'm going to say this right now. This still, I think, has the potential for a shootout, because a lot of the things that the Falcons were trying to create in the offseason by signing, Kirk Cousins and really shoring up the offense, they were successful in. This offense is very, very good in the passing game. A top 5 unit, as a matter of fact. They unlocked some really, really big potential by finally getting that quarterback out there in Atlanta, and it's created an awesome identity for this team in which, any given Sunday, sure, but like the offense really does keep them in it. Kind of reminds me, and I've said this about a couple of teams that we faced this year, as we move away from that style and into the new with Jim Harbaugh, it really does remind me a little bit of the Chargers of the past, where, we got these weapons on offense. We got this Justin Herbert guy or Phillip Rivers or whatever, and maybe the defense isn't quite up to snuff, but at the same time, it creates this environment of really exciting football, that also creates fourth quarter heart attacks every single week. And I think we're going to see a little bit of that from the Falcons on Sunday. Should be pretty interesting. And one that, again, the Chargers and its defense that just got dismantled a little bit the last couple of weeks by good offenses with the Bengals and the Ravens, of course. We got to be careful, man. I understand it's the Falcons and they're not as, playoff prestigious as the last two opponents that we may have faced. Maybe not the Bengals anymore, which is pretty crazy to me. But they still have a very, very capable unit that must be paid attention to, because I do expect them to score some points and move the ball and find some success. One of the biggest threats that I'm looking at for this week, though, is going to be Bijan Robinson. I think the passing attack is going to be something that the Chargers primarily need to watch out for. Of course, being down Cam Hart, Asante Samuel, et cetera, in the secondary. Now, Alohi Gilman. But Bijan, to me, just feels like a similar scenario to what we just witnessed with Derrick Henry, right? Like, you got these really special talents in the NFL that stand out, and sometimes they're going to run you over. Last week, we experienced that with King Henry and Lamar Jackson. This week, I'm honestly, dude, I'm a big Bijan Robinson believer. You guys know this. If you've been watching my channel the past couple of seasons now at least, you'll know how big of a fan I am of Bijan Robinson. He's fantastic. And although I still think that he hasn't reached his full potential in the NFL, it's crazy to think that because he's already fantastic. This dude is a monster. Matter of fact, awesome season already. What we're getting into, week 13 at this point. This season's going by way too quick, y'all. He's already amassed 1,000 scrimmage yards, 7 scores. That's pretty scary. And when I say scrimmage yards, I also want to mention that that's equally as important in this particular matchup. As we stated, I think the passing attack by the Falcons is going to be the most dangerous versus the Chargers, and Bijan is as big a part of that as anybody else, man. Like, that's a big chunk of his yardage out there in terms of his total yardage is going to come through the air, and he's a very capable threat when given the ball in that situation. I remember when we were looking at maybe being in a situation to draft him, we were talking about how the future of the team looks and what we need from the running back and how much we leaned on Austin Eckler at the time. Dude, Robinson, this guy could be as good, if not better, than Austin Eckler through the air, which is insane because he's huge, he's physical, he's all the things, and Eckler was so amazing for us for so many years. Robinson's going to be a big guy that I have like circled, highlighted, bolded. Watch out for Bijan in the backfield, in the passing game, and then the run game. We didn't even mention what he is. He's a running back. He's also a very, very good running back. And the Chargers, we had some problems last week stopping a very good running back, and it's going to be something that we have to look at correcting this week if we're going to survive into the rest of the second half of the season, which, mind you, playoff implications. Like, they're all over the place now. And we got to sort out these problems now. Before we get closer and closer to the postseason. Also to watch out for in terms of the running, Tyler Algier, former Coug. Definitely another guy that's going to be someone that could be a legitimate threat versus the Chargers. Again, definitely more of a physical running back, a bruiser sort of dude, a power runner, but he's a really good complement to Bijan Robinson, and both those guys are going to be something that the Chargers have to prove they can contain, right? Again, massacred by Henry last week. We got to get that part of our defense right. We got to get that back on track, okay? To finish off a few of the things to watch out for the Falcons, the passing offense, like we mentioned with Kirk Cousins, he's unlocked some really cool things for this offense. And honestly, a part of me, and I'm only going to say this now, come Sunday, we are mortal enemies. I was pretty happy for Falcons fans when I heard that they were going to get Kirk Cousins operating at quarterback, because I was like, man, finally, y'all have had some of the most amazing talent on that roster that's just been sitting there, wasted year after year. Finally, you got somebody that can really unlock a lot of the resources you guys have put into that offense, and it's been working, more or less, and I'm excited to see it continue. This week, I'm excited to see how the Chargers stand up against the force of course, Bijan Robinson, but they got some weapons on offense via the receivers too, man. The two biggest I would have to say are probably Drake London and not Kyle Pitts, funny enough. It's going to be Darnell Mooney. Mooney has really found some nice chemistry with Kirk Cousins this season. I think Mooney and Drake London, their number one wide receiver, both over 700 yards on the season so far. And it's definitely, it's showing you the kind of archetype that the Chargers are probably going to build up towards, right? In terms of, just the complementing of each other in terms of wide receiver, because we got ourselves a really nice, wide receiver in Ladd McConkey, and he's a 1, but you also want a 1A and a 1B. The Falcons have that 1A and 1B, 1A in Drake London and 1B in Mooney. I would say maybe even Kyle Pitts can be like shuffled in there a little bit too. They've got some awesome balance in that offense in terms of every single position for their quarterback to lean on, and it's been working this season. Watch out for Drake London. Watch out for Darnell Mooney, both receivers that should hit 1,000 yards this season, which again, very reminiscent of Chargers offenses of the past. Hosting 2 1,000-yard receivers, not unfamiliar for this team either, and they should be put to work this week as well. But don't dismiss Kyle Pitts quite yet either, though, because for a tight end, he's actually having a very solid season. Maybe not like the prolific season everybody was hoping to see from him when he finally got a quarterback, with all the expectations of who he might be, coming into the draft and his potential. But he's quietly having a very good season, right? 500 yards, 3 touchdowns. Like, yeah, that's awesome, for any tight end in the league. Maybe not living up to the standard of the Kyle Pitts name, but certainly a threat that the Chargers have to watch out for on Sunday. So yeah, this passing offense for the Falcons, dangerous. Definitely very, very dangerous. And it's something that's going to create an environment for, once again, like we said at the top of the show, a shootout. And it's something that the Chargers are going to have to find a way to overcome, because that offense should be pretty good. But you can't have a shootout without points. I do expect the Falcons to put up a decent amount of points this week. Their offense just has that many weapons, that much talent. But you can't have a shootout without points of your own being scored. And that's going to lead us into our next segment. I just typed it in. Fortunately, their defense sucks. Fortunately for the Chargers, the Falcons' defense is really, really not good, to put it in an appropriate light, right? This defense is straight up bad at a lot of different things. The biggest thing I would say that I was shocked they didn't tackle it more aggressively this offseason is their pass rush. Of course, you see, Jalen Hurts getting away, and Justin Herbert slowly and surely and persistently knifing his way into that conversation now in terms of quarterback. By the way, he's somewhat of a mobile quarterback now too, so watch out, Falcons. You might see a little bit of that this Sunday. But no, they have the worst, I think, what is it? Put a type down here. The bottom of the league number in sacks. They can't get to the quarterback. They really struggle at generating pressure, which, of course, a lot of teams, they throw a whole lot of resources at edge and defensive line, because it really does affect the rest of your defense, right? We talk a lot about this for the Chargers and why they invested so much in Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack, and now Puna, who's been having an awesome season, and Morgan Fox and all these guys. It really does, trickle up from there. The impact that you have on the line, we're going to help your linebackers, and that's in turn going to help your DBs, and then everybody eats. And right now the Falcons, they're really struggling at the foundation right now. Like, that doesn't feel like it saw any help at all this offseason. They continue to be the worst in the league, and that's going to be something the Chargers are going to be able to take advantage of, right? But I think the most exciting aspect of this defense that's going to help the Chargers provide a pretty entertaining game for its fans is the Falcons' passing D, right? This is a bottom 7 unit in the NFL, giving up 230 yards per game. That is definitely something that Justin Herbert, coming off of a tough game, he's going to be able to exploit that, and he's going to be ready to rock and roll there, and he's going to have to keep up, I would say, at some points, right? It's going to be a motivation for Justin Herbert to drive downfield and score some points. You're going to see, again, that shootout environment build a little bit more with each drive. And a bottom 7 defense from your opponent, I think that sure as heck going to help you out there if you want to see some touchdowns this Sunday, Bolt fam. The thing that gets me most excited, though, outside of the passing defense, is certainly going to be, oh, by the way, before we get into that, I also put in parentheses here as a note, is that don't forget to tell them this passing defense has given up 300 yards to Bo Nix and Derek Carr in back-to-back matchups, a combined 58 points allowed in the last 2 weeks. Okay, that passing defense sucks. And they about to get Justin Herbert, okay? The other aspect of the defense that gets me really jazzed, all right, is the fact that not only they're a really bad passing defense, but this is also a bottom half run team as well, and we're going to need that this week. The Chargers don't have J.K. Dobbins. We talked about how big of an impact that kind of was in the last game. To me, guys, I was there. I was watching, had a good view. Thanks, Ricardo. Had a good view. And when I saw that happen and the awkward tackle, I knew in that instant, I was like, that doesn't look good. Things did shift quite a bit. And so we need help in terms of the run game. And facing an opponent the next week that isn't like the number one run defense is going to help already. Okay, we need an opportunity to get that situation sorted out. Who's going to step up? Is it Kamani Vidal? Is it Derek, or is it Gus Edwards? I'm going to lean Edwards a little bit here, but we needed a matchup where we can kind of, sort of figure that out. And I think this is going to be a really good situation where the Chargers, they have a defense in front of them that's going to allow some yards. They're going to allow some plays, some big plays at that too. And we're going to be able to figure that out while we wait for JK to return. Okay, so bad defense by the Falcons is going to open up opportunity for the Chargers offense to get in there and score. Get ourselves a shootout back here, or out there in Atlanta. Almost out of here, guys. We got ourselves a segment called A Balanced Breakfast is Vital. I crack myself up sometimes, man. I really leaned into this whole dad thing. Yeah, you should have heard me at Thanksgiving dinner last night, man. We were going off. All right, a balanced breakfast is vital. Can we get back to the vision? What I mean by balanced breakfast, a balanced breakfast is an analogy for a balanced offense. The Chargers have more or less become a passing offense again in the last, I'll say, 5 weeks or so. And there's nothing wrong with that, right? Use what works. Attack the best way you can on offense and do what's best for the team to win. And right now it's felt like it's been Justin Herbert, which is fine, right? You want to lean into that. But the vision at the top of the season was more of a balanced offense, right? You want to be able to run the football at a really good rate consistently, find success there, open up opportunities in the play action, in the passing game for your quarterback, take some of that pressure off of him, and be that team that's, really hard to read when you're the opposing defense. And the Chargers kind of got away from that a little bit the last few weeks. Can we kind of get back to that this week, though? Again, we've been facing some really tough run defenses these past several weeks. The Chiefs, one of the best. The Ravens, one of the best. The Bengals, sneakily, a pretty good one as well. Like, can we finally, after, a really difficult slate of games in terms of run defense, finally kind of get back to that way of playing football? I think we can. And I think that Kamani Vidal has a really good shot at helping the Chargers accomplish this. Now, like I said, I think the odds are likely going to be in favor of Gus Edwards taking over. I think Gus Edwards is a very good running back. We've seen at times him have really solid games. I don't think we've seen anything over like 60 yards or anything like that this season, but that's not really been what he's been asked to do. Now that J.K. Dobbins is no longer part of the equation for now, are we going to see Gus Edwards take on that role as like, okay, let's see what happens if we give him 20, 30 carries, in a game? What's that going to look like? I honestly think that we could see, a final stretch of games where Gus Edwards is kind of the big bad. And I think right now that's probably what the odds will tell you is the most likely scenario. But a lot of people, and this is myself included, okay, because logically Gus Edwards makes a lot of sense, and I'm rooting for him, and I hope that he does have a spectacular second half of the year. But with what the Chargers have been finding success with on the run game this season, and what Justin Herbert looks for in a running back in terms of pass pro and receiving options, it just really feels like Kamani Vidal could sneak into this position and kind of take over for a while. Watch out for Kamani Vidal, right? And even in this game, I would say watch out for him to sneak into this game and catch the hot hand, they like to say, right? Where he becomes the dude they're handing the ball off to more often than not. And this kind of happened with Gus Edwards and J.K. Dobbins the first 2 weeks of the year. You guys remember that it felt like Gus Edwards was going in there maybe as RB1. Everybody was expecting RB1 Gus Edwards. And then J.K. kind of caught fire, and they just let him loose. Like, okay, if he's got the hot hand, let's let him do his thing, and Gus will play complement. And Gus has been an amazing complimentary back, and he's really been helping, soften up the defensive line and get them nice and ready for J.K. to go in there and get some extra yards. But Vidal, I think, would be able to sneak back in and provide a little bit of what J.K. was doing, add a little bit more, I would say, sauce to the passing game. I think Vidal has some merit there. And we may see a really nice, placeholder at running back for the next couple of weeks in Vidal and Gus Edwards. Gonna have to wait and see how that works out. But in the end, I feel it's very important the Chargers do find a way to get back to that balanced idea for the next few weeks, as I would say our remaining games for the season aren't going to be as brutal as they have been in terms of run defenses we're facing. And why not try and get a little bit more footing, in that idea with Vidal, Edwards, and maybe Hassan Haskins, who sneakily got some playing time last week too. All right. Lastly, biggest thing you're going to be looking for this game, especially in any game that holds any sort of potential shootout, is going to be Justin Herbert, who I would say, again, and this is going to shock some people, but I don't care. I think Justin Herbert played pretty good last week. I'm going to say great last week. Justin Herbert was constantly put into situations that sucked, right? The protection was not great last week. I think, got sacked 3 or 4 times. He was really working with what he had in terms of offensive weapons. Quinton Johnston made life really difficult for this man last week, unfortunately. But in a lot of situations, you looked at Justin and said, hey, man, this dude's playing lights out. I think everyone's going to miss that because, of course, of the loss. And he wasn't void of mistakes, but he had a pretty great game. I think you're going to see that version of Justin Herbert come back this week with a fire. The Chargers, a 4-game win streak was ended last week versus the Ravens. I'm sure he's going to be very motivated to go out there and take it out on the Falcons and find some momentum for himself in this one, because he came into that game last week on fire. It slowed down tremendously because of the Ravens' really good defense in terms of pass rush especially, and maybe coming against a team that is much different in that aspect is going to help Justin Herbert out a lot. Because again, Justin Herbert, he faced off against a really good, or I should say, opportunity for him to have a really good day versus the pass defense of the Ravens last week. But this week, I would say the Falcons, man, this defense, when they are faced up against an efficient quarterback, I would say more than anything, they give up a ton of big plays. Not just, here we go, driving down the field, traditional. No. This team gives up a crap ton of big plays. And that's what Justin Herbert likes to do. He likes to take shots. He likes to try to make big plays happen downfield. You're going to see him passing it to Quinton Johnston, y'all, because that's the kind of guys you're going to see get open down there. And I think it's going to make a lot of opportunities for Justin Herbert to hit what we like to call the H-bomb out there this week. So I think we're going to see Justin Herbert come back, bounce back, have a really good game. I think we're going to see some big, spectacular plays by Justin Herbert this week, and we're going to see some nice opportunities by the wide receivers to make some big plays out there as well. Lastly, I did want to kind of mention this at the end of the video. We need to see Quinton Johnston do something this week. Buddy, I'm rooting for you. Okay, and I don't think one game makes a bad season. All right, that one game, yes, QJ, that's on you, man. There's a lot of things out there that catch could have swung things. That drive sustained could have kept things going, whatever. That was a bad day for Quinton Johnston. All right, I would love to see him shake it off, have himself a solid week next week, and really help fans, settle down, sit back down a little bit, because he's had a pretty decent season up until that point. That one game, though, it's going to haunt him this year. Fans are going to hold on to it this year. It bothered the crap out of me to see it in person. I'm not going to lie. Like, seeing that live was difficult, but I'm not going to let it completely destroy my perspective of what Quinton Johnston has been this year. I need to see a bounce back, not just for my confidence in him as a fan, but for his confidence in himself as a player. And that's really important going forward for QJ. All right? Close out this video. I got my score prediction. Let me know in the comment section what your guys' score prediction is going to be. I'm going to go with Chargers winning this one 27-19. Let's get things back on track with the defense, allowing 20 points or less in the season. I think the Chargers gave up just under that at 19 points, but do continue that streak of scoring between 23 and 27 points this week with Justin Herbert versus a very nice opportunity versus the Falcons. All right, and get ready, Bolt fam. It's going to be a long Falcon Sunday for all y'all that chat. What's going on? Yeah, it should be fun. It should be fun. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining me. This has been The Director. Hit us up with a like and sub on your way out if you did enjoy this content. We'll see you on Sunday for the live broadcast. As always, bolt up several different ways. and stay frosty. And happy Thanksgiving to everybody out there, man. I hope you had a fantastic time celebrating with your family and everyone. I'm going to take this quick opportunity to share with you guys something that does mean a lot to me. And in this Thanksgiving episode, I would be remiss if I forgot to mention this to you guys, okay? I'm going to read this out loud, something I tweeted last night. This is one of my favorite photos from 2024. Always thankful for my Bolt fam. You guys changed my life in ways you'll never understand. Love y'all. Happy Thanksgiving. If you zoom in the middle, that big O1, that's me with Thunderdome and the entire Bolt fam at Rock and Brews celebrating training camp this last year. And just it's been an awesome ride, man. This is something that I never dreamed would be my reality. You guys brought it into my life, and you've been as supportive as a guy could ask for, man. Thank you for everything you guys have done for me and my family, and I'm so lucky to be able to say I do have another fam in my Bolt fam I get to see on game day and other events like that, guys. Thank you so much for your love and support. Guys, thank you again. We'll see you next time, and as always, bolt up and stay frosty.